Welcome to Recalculating Small Business. Like its award-winning book, Recalculating is dedicated to small business in America. Your hosts are Don Mazzella and Dan Perkins. Don Mazzella is the editor-in-chief of the Small Business Digest. Dan Perkins is a registered investment advisor with 43 years' experience in managing money.
Dan Perkins here, your co-host, along with Don Mazzella of Recalculating for Small Business. Our radio program is dedicated to you, helping the small business owners increase their profits. We draw our name from Recalculating, voted the best small business book of 2017 by the Independent Press. In this book, it features ways to grow your small business. Now, here's Don Mazzella.
My co-host Dan Perkins is on assignment, but we are happy today to have Brad Deutser with us. He's here to talk about increasing employee engagement. Brad, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Well, Brad, we always start our guests by asking a little bit about their background, a little bit about their company, and their website.
Sure. So my background is really like a lot of entrepreneurs and small business leaders, and I have a very diverse background that started with my time back with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, where I traveled around the country and put on the circus and Walt Disney World on Ice, and from there I moved on to work for at the time an all-female PR firm. We were heavily involved at the forefront of creating cause marketing campaigns, and then I evolved to really get into an advertising space before I created my own company, Deutser. And we're a unique consultancy whose sole focus is on helping leaders and their organizations improve by the use of clarity, the concept of clarity. And I'm excited to share the process of clarity and how we help organizations go to a different level and solve different problems, especially as it relates to engaging their workforce, however big or small it may be. And so I have an interesting background that's kind of led me to where we are today. But we work with leaders at all levels of all companies and help them achieve clarity, drive performance, and work using strategy and culture and communications and linking them in new and different ways. And our website for our company is Deutser, DEUTSER.com, and that's where we find a lot of information. And we're about to introduce the new Deutser Clarity Institute as well. So we have a lot of fun things going on to help leaders at different stages.
Well, we're going to get back to the Institute later on. But I guess my first question, and one that comes up oftentimes, and let's stick with small business for the moment. You start out small, you bring on your first clients, your first employees, you start to grow. But the question is, my question to you is, how do you keep the employees engaged as you grow rapidly and you add people and you're more or less developing a culture as you move along? What are some of the things a small business leader should be thinking about as he or she builds their company?
So we have a unique approach to helping leaders at that stage, or really at every stage. And in the book that I wrote, Leading Clarity, which is the breakthrough strategy to unleash people, profit, and performance, we go into great detail in helping leaders understand the conundrums that they face. And one is this idea of rapid growth, and we're growing and we're moving, and we're so focused on the here and now that how do we keep people engaged and focused and aligned with where we're going? And one of the things in the book that we talk a lot about, which is somewhat counterintuitive to people, is we're all used to this outside the box thinking, and we all pride ourselves on creativity and innovation being driven outside of the box. And for much of my career, I was an outside-the-box thinker. But over the last 20-plus years, through our research and our client work, we've really proven that it's actually inside-the-box thinking that is what aligns leaders and their people, regardless of the speed of business, the place of the business, wherever it is. So we work with leaders to really define their organization's box. And every organization has a different shape, a different size, but the framework of which you look to construct the box is all similar. And when leaders have that defined box, employees are able to understand where they're going, operationally where they go, their fit, the things that are important, and it creates increased alignment, and it drives engagement to fundamentally different levels for the organization.
Well, if I could repeat it back to you to see if I understand it, essentially you're saying define the organization, define the people, the individual's role within that organization, and make sure they understand what the goals are of the organization. Would that be a good paraphrase?
That's a great paraphrase, because as we think about the organization's box, which a lot of people think as four sides of a box, and it's the direction, it's operations, it's people, and engagement. That makes the four sides of the box. But the work that we've kind of done has shown that the box is actually a dimensional box that's 6 sides. So not only do you have direction, operations, people, and engagement, the bottom of the box is a critical piece for leaders at all levels, especially starting early in the business, and that's the organizational identity. And the organizational identity is the piece that is, what is our purpose? What is the reason for us being in business? What are the things that we value? What are the motivators of our organization? And the other part of the organizational identity is the organization's characteristics. What was true when we started this business? What's true where we are, and what needs to be true as we go forward? And so, creating that kind of organizational identity gives people a platform that there's great agreement on, and you build from. And then on the top of the box is about the environment. What is the business environment around us? So yes, you nailed it. And it's we take this kind of holistic approach of looking at the whole of the organization that helps to ground the organization, especially with fast growth or with changing customers or the demands that seem to be going at a faster pace today from our customers than maybe any time that I ever remember before in business.
I agree with you on that point. Well, let me see if I can perhaps drill down a little deeper. Well, we now have in this world many companies that are hybrids, online and brick and mortar. And I've noticed there's been a lot of companies that don't understand or are not able to deal with the fact that they have two separate channels, yet they must somehow integrate them. Can you kind of talk to that issue?
Absolutely. We work with organizations all the time that look at their channels and allow their channels to define who they are. And our approach is about getting back to who you are as an organization and then leveraging the channels the ways that they need to be leveraged. But from an identity, which we were just talking about, from an identity perspective, who we are, how we operate, the story that we put out there to our people and to the world is really fundamental. I mean, that's the thing that leaders sometimes feel like, gosh, I'm moving forward so fast that it's hard for me to stop and really reflect on why I'm doing what I'm doing. And what we tell people all the time is that regardless if you're a hybrid, regardless if you're a brick and mortar or just online or some other channel, you're not slowing down. You're actually continuing to move forward, but you're protecting your future by really clearly articulating who you are, what you believe, where you're going, and then finding ways, as we say, to humanize that. So once we know that identity of who this organization is, how do we humanize it? How do we bring it to life in a way where we can engage our workforce, where we can inspire our workforce to take ownership of those values and the behaviors that we think are so important? And then how do we take that and bring it to life online, in the brick and mortar store, or wherever we're delivering the service?
Well, recently I attended the New York Now show, which is a conglomeration of 4 or 5 different shows, everything from baby clothes all the way up to fine jewelry, all under one roof. But what I noticed was that there were generational differences in the presentation and in the people manning the various booths. What I noticed was that the younger people seem to be more forceful in their presentation than the older generation. I'm of the older generation. I make no bones about it. But what I saw in the younger generation was that they kept saying it's our company, whereas the older people seem to be talking about the products and the services. Would you care to comment? Am I hitting into what you're saying?
So it's really interesting because we have a lot of views on the different generations, and I'll start with your point. We see a lot of that. We see a lot of the younger generation that has a different connectivity to their organization and their product, and so a lot of times we see them selling or engaging with customers or potential customers in more straightforward ways, where they do have a sense of ownership, and it's a sense of this belongs to me as I'm putting it out there. And I think that what we're seeing across a lot of areas of society today is there's a boldness that we're seeing. There's a willingness for people to step out a little bit further than historically they have. And if we go back a decade or two, we didn't see this level of aggressiveness, if you will. That said, as we think about organizations and how organizations work inside, whether you have a small handful of employees or a lot of employees, we see actually what the younger generation wants inside an organization is not dissimilar to what high-functioning organizations have. So that they're looking for things, but there are a lot of the things that the highest performing organizations have and that are well defined. But I do agree with you that when we see some young people, there is an ownership and a connectivity to their product, their service, their company that they feel emboldened to share.
Well, but let me go the other step. The older generation relied more on personal contact, personal relationships. What I see in the younger generation is a reliance on the computer and numbers and data rather than the personal side, and a willingness to look at the people that are selling to them and people they're selling to. They're looking more at the data rather than the personal side. Are you seeing that, or is that just something I'm just picking up on because I put so much reliance on personal relations?
So do we see it? Yes. Is there a reliance on data? Is there reliance on technology? Yes. But I will tell you that I think that where business is going, even this is contrary to what many people believe, where they believe the future is technology and data, I think it is critical to our business. But I think that we're getting back to a time, and we're seeing this with so many of our clients, where the personal side of it is becoming more important again. And I think that it is a critical piece, and that's why we go back to the box in humanizing. We have a core belief in our organization, and our clients share it, and that is people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And if you look at this from a technological perspective, you look at the challenges that some of the major tech companies have, they took away the human characteristic, and they started doing things because they were hiding behind the technology. But the reality is, it was those human characteristics that burned them in the end. And you can look at some of the mistrust that people have with Facebook and with some of the things that are out there. So don't give up on the idea that personal relationships are not important, because I will tell you, I believe that they're more important than ever. And when you have a small business, a mid-sized business, a large business, how we treat our people, how we connect with them, how they connect with our business gets felt in the way that things go out on the web. It gets felt on the way that we interact and we fulfill. It's a critical piece. And at the core, clarity, leading clarity, is about leading people.
We're talking with Brad Deutser. We're talking about increasing employee engagement. It's funny you say that. At the show recently, we came across these two young ladies selling bow ties, specialty bow ties for tuxedos. And they were two young ladies. Their company is 50 employees in South Carolina. I think the name of the company was Deuster. But what impressed me about it was how they went about and kept talking about the company as their company. Finally, to the point I said, "Is it your company?" And they said, "Oh, no. It was just that we feel so positive about it." But they were doing a heck of a job selling, and that's what impressed me. And then I walked down the hallway to one of the nationally known companies, and there were 5 older people in there, and they couldn't care less. And it was a really major eye-opener for me. But, Brad, can you repeat those 4 and 6 sides for people? Because I think it's important that we emphasize that in this talk.
Absolutely. So the 4 sides of the box, we'll start with direction. So direction affects every aspect of the company and its ability to connect with and move its people to a shared vision of where the company is going. And so on the direction side, it's about visioning, it's about leadership development, it's about strategic planning. As we go to the operational side, this addresses the ability of the organization to manage change and manage performance through appropriate systems and processes. Then we go to the third side, which is the environment. Then we go to the third side, which is people. So we have direction, operations, and people. And so people are about identifying the right people and providing them with the support and the services they need to be successful in fulfilling the organization's goal. And this is about creating the behavioral system. It's about talent management. It's about team building. And then the fourth side of the box is engagement. And so engagement is how we focus on having engaged employees as well as customers. And this results in loyal employees that sustain operations and loyal customers to sustain demand. And in the engagement area, we talk a lot about organizational learning and organizational communication and how we recognize. And then the bottom of the box is organizational identity. And again, that's the who we are and how we do things. It's our characteristics, our purpose, our values. And then the top of the box is the environment. And this is all the external factors that impact our box. And this is about industry analysis and consumer research and behavior and kind of the brand strategy. So 6 sides: direction, operations, people, engagement, environment on the top, and organizational identity on the bottom.
We're talking with Brad Deutser. Brad, your website for our audience?
So I have two websites. I have my company website is Deutser.com, DEUTSER.com, and I also have Brad Deutser, BRADDEUTSER.com, and on that website I have a lot of the things we write about and share different blogs and a few different exercises.
Well, before we go further, you said you have a new institute you're starting. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we are starting the Deutser Clarity Institute, and we're really excited. It's an extension of Deutser, and it's an extension of our work in our book Leading Clarity. And in the institute is a think tank, an idea accelerator, and a learning lab. And so we will do research on clarity and performance. We have a number of research assessments that help organizations understand where the areas they're in clarity. So we'll be doing a bunch of research and think tank work. On the Idea Accelerator, we work with many startup businesses or early stage in lots of different stages, from startup to Fortune 100, but we in this area, we're really helping them take new ideas, new products, and helping them to bring them to life in new and different ways. And then the learning lab part of our institute is for leadership development. And so we have clients, we'll have memberships, we'll offer team sessions, group leadership sessions, and do a host of different activities to help organizations create the foundations of clarity and help to elevate their leadership. So it's a very leadership-centric institute.
Well, what made you decide to create this institute, and why an institute versus not continuing in your regular offerings?
So our company Deutser, we work with leaders and we coach leaders, and we do lots of work in strategy and culture and communications and bring those together and help to drive performance in the organization. And more what we're finding is that leaders are looking for ways to elevate themselves and their work to a different level, and we're seeing more and more organizations with the next rung and the rung under that of leadership looking for ways to take that upper and mid-level leadership and give them different skills and create a different form of alignment within their structure. And so we thought that it would be keeping our work, our Deutser is composed of organizational psychologists and anthropologists and business consultants and a large creative team and an engagement team to keep them focused on the work of driving organizations forward. And then the Institute, which is led by an organizational psychologist, we have a PhD, we have visiting fellows from academia and other areas of business, to keep that really focused on helping the individual and the teams. So that's why we created the separate entity, and it's we've created two very interesting spaces to work and to bring people together and innovate and learn and elevate their skills in some pretty neat areas.
Well, that sounds interesting. Do you have a website yet for that?
The website is in development, but either Deutser.com or BradDeutser.com, as soon as the new website is out and the space is finished, we'll be putting everything out there on both websites.
Be very interesting. In the short time that we have left, we're talking with Brad Deutser. What are the one or two things that you tell new and potential clients they should look for in their organizations?
Well, new clients, what we always tell them is that leadership matters. Leadership matters and clarity matters. And so where we can create a clear direction, a clear operational focus where we can help them balance the strategic focus of the business with the cultural focus of the business, and we can create that equilibrium between the two and really drive a purposeful organization. Don't do things just to do them, but know that the decisions that you make sure they're purposeful. We always talk to leaders about not settling to be a good or a very good company, but being intentional to be the best company that they can be. And by defining the parameters of their organization and giving their people the roadmap, giving their leaders the roadmap, they have a real chance to achieve at different levels. And that's what we've been able to help our clients do over and over again, is drive performance of their people, their profits, and the overall organization forward.
Well, on that note, we're talking with Brad Deutser. A link to his website will be on recalculating.biz tonight, where you can hear this and every other past and future recalculating program, and you can recommend future guests for our show. Brad, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a real pleasure and really informative. Thank you.
Thank you. I am so honored to be part of it, and I love listening.
Well, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Want to know more about health savings accounts for your company or yourself? Go to 2hsa.com and get a free employer's primer. Health savings accounts are a cost-effective way of offering health care benefits to your employees and yourself. HSAs build retirement funds for your employees, improve morale, and reduce your health care benefit cost. For a free employer guide to HSAs, go to 2hsa.com. That's 2hsa.com.
Marcus Lemonis, J.D. Powers, and John Scully, and 100 other presidents and experts contributed to Recalculating the book. Why did all these people agree to contribute to the book? I'm Don Mazzella, and I'm the editorial director of Small Business Digest. And for 20 years, we have been offering small business leaders information and data to increase profits. Recalculating the book was named the best small business book by the Independent Press Association. Whether you need help with marketing, staffing, finance, operations, technology, or many other subjects, they're all here in Recalculating the book. They're now available at Amazon at a reduced cost. We've also created the radio program Recalculating on recalculating.biz.
Dan Perkins here from recalculating.biz with your featured book. I want to tell you about a recent interview I had with Bob Bethel, a turnaround specialist with lots of success in small business. Bob's new book is Strengthen Your Business, Fail-Proof Strategies for Small Business. He tells us of his life successes and failures that have made him and his clients so successful. Over the years, Bob has brought 77 companies back from the brink and changed them into thriving, profitable businesses. His energy is amazing, and at 74, he proves that you can still have a great deal to give others if you just try. His suggestions are easy to understand and very helpful. One insight struck me was that most companies do not have a plan. The old Chinese proverb says, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there, is true today. Bob Bethel's book, Strengthen Your Business, can be found at Amazon.com or can be ordered at your local bookstore. This has been Dan Perkins with your Recalculating.biz featured book. Dan Perkins here from Recalculating.biz with your small business tip of the day. Are you protecting yourself against lazy lawsuits? You may be asking, what is a lazy lawsuit? This is a lawsuit because you have not been paying attention to the details. It used to be that you could do business on a handshake, but unfortunately, not anymore. Handshakes don't have any details, so both parties have to remember the same things for the handshake to work. The problem enters in when memories fail, and it turns into he said and she said. Here is the Recalculating Small Business tip of the day. Work with the client in developing a contract. That way your customer will be putting in writing what he expects you to do and when the job is to be completed. You will know what and when is expected of you. It may take a little extra time, but it will save you both time and money. I'm Dan Perkins from Recalculating.biz with your small business tip of the day.
Welcome back to Recalculating, the program dedicated to American small business. Now it's time to bring together our two experts, Dan Perkins and Don Mazzella, as they discuss things that are happening now that are affecting your business success.
Dan Perkins, my co-host, is on assignment, but Marie Sabath is a best-selling author and founder of At Ease, a New York-based business consulting firm. She's got a wonderful new book, and we're going to talk about that and a lot more. Marie, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Donald. I'm flattered to be with you.
Well, we're flattered to have you. Marie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your book, and where people can reach you.
Thank you very much. Well, 31 years and a lot of oil of a lay ago, I started a business. This business is called At Ease Incorporated, and it is a business consulting firm focusing on domestic and international courtesy. I've had the pleasure of training more than 200,000 individuals domestically, some globally. And what I realized 2 years ago, Donald, is the individuals who represent these wonderful organizations, primarily small businesses, professional services industry, etc., knew how to help their companies be successful. However, they were making a lot of money. They did not know how to achieve personal success. So what I did was I asked myself, how am I going to help them? And we said this several times in the show, it's not the answer, it's the question. So I came up with it. Again, it took me 2 years to figure out how I was going to do it. And I pitched a book to a publisher. Sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. It was meant to be. And so I pitched the book, What Self Made Millionaires Do, that most people don't. I interviewed 30 self-made millionaires who came from nothing. Nothing. So one individual for Christmas would get an orange and socks if he was lucky. Another was raised in a tin house and wore clothes that he was embarrassed by because they were so poor. However, he always knew someday he would be wealthy. And remember, wealth is not only about money. That's what they are going to learn in this book. So that's what happened, and it came out May 21st. It's in a second printing, and I have to tell you, the greatest, and people say, is it successful? I say it absolutely is, because my goal was, if I assisted only one person in achieving their personal success, I have made it. And I had a young lady who was a receptionist at a hair salon who came up to me, and she cried. She said, thank you so much for writing this book. I said, well, my pleasure. She said, it has changed my life. And I said, what did it do? It sounds like an infomercial. I'm telling you, this is what she said. She was on the streets of New York, and she said this to me. She said, I have learned that I need to surround myself with people I want to be like. She said, I spend less time with people who may be toxic in my life, and I am on the right path, and you have done it. I should have known it, however, I had to read it. I had to hear this from somebody else. I gave her a big hug, and I said, you've only just begun.
Well, that's fascinating. Do you have a website for the book?
I sure do. It is my name, Ann, A-N-N, Marie, M-A-R-I-E, Sabath, S as in Sam, A, B as in boy, A, T as in Tom, H.com. So that's AnnMarieSabath.com. And I'm glad you said that, Donald, because we also have podcasts that come out each, and they equate to the 52 Secrets. And so we invite your listeners to listen to them. They're 2 minutes, more or less, and really it will give them the confidence to do what it takes to achieve their own success, whatever that is to them.
Well, I'm going to start off with a hard question based on my life. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. And just recently, I ran into a situation where clearly the family was holding down the individual. How do you deal with something like that, Anna Marie?
Well, first of all, we're not going to disinherit our family. We get angry at them, et cetera, and I don't mean we all do over their situations, because love and hate are equal, no question. So the key is you take the time that you have as free time and you surround yourself with people, with authors, with articles regarding what you are striving to be. That's what you do. And remember something. We learn two things from everyone, what to do and what not to do. So if a family member has a bad temper, that is a teachable moment for us to manage our tempers. If somebody is an alcoholic, that is a teachable moment for us to learn how we need to manage what we drink and how we drink. So the key is there is always a learning, a teachable moment with every situation.
Okay, that's a good answer. I wish I had learned it earlier in life, but now let's go. What are some of the things you say you've learned about choosing the people around you? How do you do it?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, you have to figure out what is it, who are you, and who do you want to be? So most of us have a decent foundation. We have some very good qualities. And the question is that we want to be. So let's say, all right, I'll give you an example. Let's say someone wants to document some of their experiences, well, in the form of a book. So they should surround themselves with authors. Let's say that someone wants, I'll give you one. We went to a particular movie about a month ago, and the young lady sitting next to me happens to be in a very famous, I didn't know, I started talking with her, but a very famous show, a show meaning program on TV. And I asked her, so why are you here? She said, because I see they're dancing, and that is, I'm now in television. I want to be in theater, and so I'm surrounding myself with the environment to watch the person on the film. You see what I'm saying? So what happens is what you do, we are the people with whom we surround ourselves. We are our environment. You know, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, says in his books, they're all outstanding books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I don't get a broker's fee for saying that. He says in his book, Cash Flow Quadrant, the 4 people with whom you spend the most time is who you become in the future. So what does that tell you? The key is, who is it? What is it that we want to do that we're not already doing? And how can we go about doing that? When I started my business, let me tell you, Donald, there were very few women who I knew who actually had a business. I wasn't smart enough to be scared. And so what I did is I bought books. This was even before digital. And I made sure that I read about women who started a business, how they started it, what they overcame, on and on and on. So that's how you do it.
Well, that's a good answer. But since our audience is made up of small business leaders, 59% of whom are presidents and or owners, let's start out. How do you help them choose the right kind of people to join them in their organization when it begins and as they grow?
Well, first of all, and thank you for saying that again, I'm a small business owner, so I can relate very well. First of all, one of the Self Made Millionaires said this, and I loved it. He said he didn't surround himself with people who had the expertise. He surrounded himself with people who he actually liked. By surrounding yourself with people who you like, with whom you feel you're going to get along, and then the expertise. Because there's a lot of expertise out there. You learn, you go from there. Also, surround yourself with people who are different than you, still same work ethic, same values, however, who know things differently than you so that you can continue to expand. However, the step number 1 for small business owners is, where is it that you want the company to go? You have to define a goal first. That's number 1. When you define a goal, then you will know who to select based on what division do I want to grow? Where is the division now? Does it even exist? If it doesn't, what are the forms of expertise that I need in order to create that? And this is the key. Sometimes it's not the answer, it's the question.
Oh, you're very right there. Well, let me ask you a different question. How do you deal with toxic friends? There are people that you've known for a while. You've either tolerated them or just finally realized that they're not the best people to have around you. How do you deal with that?
It's very easy. You have two choices. You can actually not be available anymore, or what you do is you may be available for them less. So let's say you get together with that individual, particular individual, once a week. Maybe you do power breakfast on a weekend. Maybe it's now every 2 weeks. So wean them. And then recognize you may become their mentor. So let's say you're dealing with somebody very negative and you're positive. So what you do is you recognize that that person is surrounding himself or herself with you who is positive. And so what you do is you wean and then recognize that you have a completely different role. Your role is to be a mentor, not by saying, I am your role model. You simply are accessible for them because remember, we are our friends. So you have to elevate yourself and recognize that person may be reaching out to you subconsciously because you are positive even though he or she is negative. That's how you do it. What you give, you get back without question.
We're talking with Marie Sabath. She's got a wonderful new book. She's a small business owner. But Marie, I'd like to. I read the advice of columns in a newspaper. I still read a newspaper every day, and you read these columns, and people talk about how they're in the work environment, and they can't deal with this or that or the other thing. All of our books, and we all recommend things to people, and we never understand why they don't do something about it themselves. I think it's very difficult sometimes to break the mode. How do you help them break the mode? Yes, you give them a book, but do you give them ways of breaking the mode?
One of the responsibilities of business owners is to recognize that they are the role models for their employees. Studies have shown that employees treat customers and clients only as well as their managers, as their business owners treat them. So that's a tall order.
It very much is. But many people feel that their employers are not sympathetic to them or feel that they're favoring other clients, other employees, etc. How do you deal with something like that?
Well, I tell people is if they're not happy in their jobs, they're not doing anyone a favor, get out of there. That's number one. When they walk into their work environment, they need to treat their work environment in the same way that they would treat their own business. And if they dread going to work and live for weekends or evenings, then you know what? Find your passion. And it may take more than a day or a week or a month. It may take more than a year. Find your passion and create it as a hobby. And then eventually can be any amount of time, eventually, over time, monetize it. And recognize nothing is simple in life. It's what you make it. I would bet the person who is disgruntled at work is also disgruntled at home. So the person needs an AA, attitude adjustment. That's what I have to say.
Well, I love that attitude adjustment. It's always important. But many people feel that they don't know how to adjust. I keep coming back to that point because I see in so many cases people buy book after book for self-improvement, yet never improve because they never can make that next important step of doing it. They can read about it, but not do it. And that's why I keep honing in on that.
You're so right, Donald. And key, remember, it's a matter of surrounding themselves with people they want to be like. So the first step is, who are you? What is it that you would like to do to develop yourself? How can you go about doing that? Who do you know? What books are out there that you can read and take one thing from a particular book? And remember something. This is what most people don't do. Most people do not document what they want. In fact, there was a study, and the study is pretty amazing. The study asked 100 Harvard MBA students, do you have goals? 84 of the 100 did not have goals. That's pretty scary. 13
did
of
not,
the one.
I'm sorry, say that again?
84 or 84% of the 100 individuals, MBA students, had no goals. 13 of the 100 individuals had goals, however, they were not documented. They were only in their minds. 3 of the 100, or 3%, had documented goals. Now, this answers your question, because here's the deal. A lot of people don't get to where they want because, first of all, they don't even know where they're going. 10 years later, the same 100 individuals were surveyed. I'm impressed they were even found, probably through LinkedIn. And what happened was the 13 individuals who do not even have documented goals 10 years prior were making on average twice as much as the 84 individuals who had no goals a decade before. However, the 3 individuals who had documented goals, they knew what they wanted, were making 10 times more than the 97% of people. Think about that. So this is the answer to your question. How do you get someone to find what they want? Well, first of all, they have to get in there. You don't get in the car unless you know where you're going. Figure out what you want. And it doesn't simply happen. You have to think about it. Remember, I said it at the beginning of the show. It's not the answer, it's the question. The answer will come to you when you ask it, when you write it down. Your antennas will go up when there is something that is speaking to you. I do that all the time. Everyone have different phases in their lives. You complete one project. What is it that you or I want to do to add to what we're already doing? And so once you're clear about it, you write it down, and I can guarantee you it will come to you.
That's some very sound advice, and I'm going to ask you, Anne-Marie, to repeat it again for our audience.
Certainly. Where would you like me to start, Donald, as far as repeating it?
Any place you want to. It's important that people hear that again and again and again.
Well, I'm going to give it again because it's so powerful. My children used to laugh at me, and they now live it. Believe me. The key is this. When you want something, remember the power of the written word. When you document what you want, I don't mean keep it in your mind, document it, like 3% of the population does. 3. You are more likely to achieve it. Because as Will Rogers says, what the mind conceives and you believe, you will achieve. As one of the Self Made Millionaires in the book said, you can do it. You just have to want it. And when you write things down, you think about it, you're 1/3 of the way there. You document it, you put it in your phone. You write it down. You put it in your under your mattress. You put it in your wallet. If you have a car, you put it in your glove compartment. The last third will happen because you've already thought it, you've documented it, you're 2/3 of the way there. Guaranteed.
Wow.
It's a wow.
That's a powerful thing. I'm sitting there agreeing with you. I feel very strongly on it. That's one of the reasons you're on this program. But now, in the time we have remaining, can you summarize some of the things you can do to adjust your attitude that you would suggest to your audience?
Yes. In fact, I'm going to share that, and I'm going to also share some of the secrets that most people don't do, if I may. All right? Number 1, to adjust your attitude, 1, be clear. Be clear in what you want. And one of the 52 secrets for creating your success in this book, What Self Made Millionaires Do That Most People Don't, is this. Become a minimalist. Let me tell you, when I wrote this book, every time I started writing a section, I had to begin doing it. Live with 100 items. And you know what? 100 items. Your mind will be clearer. You will increase your square footage. Think about it. You will have much more time to think because you will have fewer distractions. So not only surrounding yourself with people you want to be like, surround yourself with environments, with books. I refuse to read anything that is negative. I refuse to watch anything on TV that is negative. It's always positive. And this is essential. Spend time alone. That's when you get the best ideas. You have to be your own best friend. Take 5 more minutes in the shower. Some business owners say, I run a business, I have children. Well, guess what? Stay in the shower 5 minutes longer. You will think. How many times has an answer to something you've been trying to figure out come to you in the shower, Donald?
Well, for me, it's the bathtub, but you're absolutely right. On that one, you're absolutely right.
That is the case. And, this is not rocket science. It's because there are no distractions. You really think. And maybe it's before you go to bed, not a distraction. Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you get up in the morning, when your mind is completely clear. So when you have to surround yourself with yourself first. You have to like yourself. You have to be your own best friend. That's the key. So you have to take good information, good energy with you to other people. Becoming a minimalist is one of the 52 secrets for creating your success. We've talked about them. We've talked about set a meaningful goal. Figure it out. What is it that you want? And remember, we said it twice. I'm going to say it again. It's not the answer. It's the question. Another way to surround yourself with people and things you want to be like is every day learn one new thing. One new thing. Maybe it's the proverb of the day. Maybe it is learning how to go a different way. If you do a GPS, go a different way to work. It doesn't matter. Another goal is becoming a time master. Use your time as though those times, the 360, amount of time you have, are like pennies. Use them wisely. Do not let people take your time. You allow that rather than setting concentrated periods of time. When I wrote this book, I wrote it at 2:30 every morning. I'd set my alarm. I didn't tell you I went to bed at 9 a.m. I'd get up and I'd write for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I'd go back to bed. Now, I didn't stay. I maybe slept until 7 in the morning. My point is, this is what you do to surround yourself with situations. And I can tell you, Oprah Winfrey says it very well, surround yourself with people who elevate you. And it's your choice to do that. Sometimes we're the people who elevate others. That's great. Give energy and you will receive it.
We have been talking with Marie Sabath. Anne, your book again?
Thank you. My 9th book is What Self Made Millionaires Do That Most People Don't. 52 Secrets for Creating Your Own Success. And I welcome individuals to your listeners to go to my website, AnneMarieSabath, SABATH.com, and to certainly listen to the podcast. Email me anything. I guarantee them I will respond. I'm very, very interested in what their questions are. That's what it's about. I love motivating people, and they, in turn, will pay it forward. We get pretty enthused because it really does help people. I'm shocked. I'm so happy, when you hear it. This is the legacy that I want. I want the legacy of helped people move forward, be happy inside, and that's the bottom line.
We're talking with Marie Sabath. A link to her website will be on recalculating.biz tonight, where you can hear this and every other past and future program. Marie, thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure, Donald. Thank you for asking me.
Tell me, Dan, tell me about your latest book.
My current book that's coming out, I should say, is Why Can't Grammy Remember Me? And it's really the first book written for children between the ages of 9 and 12 and their families dealing with dementia. Dementia is a growing problem with the elderly in the United States and around the world. And we are not very well informed about what's going on, what's happening. So I wrote this book in the form of a mystery. And I have 2 little girls, 9 and 12, who have a magical power to seem to be able to find things that are lost. And so they go to their dads and moms and they say, we work all over the neighborhood helping people find things, and we seem to find things. And their dad says, yes, you have a magical talent to do that. And they said, we'd like to start a business to see if we can help other people. So they decided to start a business. The two girls' names are Hudson and Charlotte. And they start H&C's Lost and Found. If you've lost it, we find it. And so they build a business, and they convince the dads to build them an office and a treehouse in the backyard. And they get busy making posters and flyers trying to get customers. And their dads take them downtown, and they put them in the windows and on the telephone poles and light poles. And they go home, and first week goes by, and nobody comes. And the second week and third week, and nobody comes. They're really, really dejected. And the fourth week comes, and there's a knock at the door. And they walk over and open the door, and there's a young man standing there with one of their flyers in his hands. And he says to them, my dad says the reason why my Grammy can't remember me is because she's lost her memory. And your flyer says you find things that are lost. Can you find my Grammy's memory? Well, they don't know anything about memory. So they take his name and they go see their dads to see what can happen. And the story evolves into how they learn about what dementia is and what's going on in the body when somebody has dementia. And then they decide, while they can't find their customer's memory, they can help him build the tools to retain her in his memory. And so at the end of the book, there are about 10 to 12, 13 things that families can do together to work on to preserve the memory of Grandma and Grandpa so the generations can know who these people were. And that's the story.
What a great book. When will it be available, and how can people get it?
Well, it'll be available on Amazon.com. A lot of people who have read it, who've had moms and dads that have been stricken with Alzheimer's or dementia, tell me that they really now begin to understand what's happening in Grandma's brain. And we took a different approach. Rather than do the typical brain cross-section, I work with the artists, and we design highways in the brain. And there's a brain of one of the little girls and the brain of Grammy. They both have highways, roads, but the girl's brain, everything is green and go. Grammy's brain is full of no left turns, do not enter, stop, no right turns. So all of the messages that need to come from our brain get screwed up, and we can't function. Great illustrations, though. Wonderful illustrations.
Well, say goodbye, Dan.
All right.
Time for us to go.
Thank you for joining us. And by the way, if you didn't hear all of today's show, you can go to recalculating.biz, and you can pick up this show and past shows to expand your knowledge as becoming more successful entrepreneurs. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Dan Perkins here with your Recalculating Small Business Tip of the Day. Do you know what spilled milk smells like in a few days in a hot car? Many small business people use their trucks or cars as transportation for them and, in some cases, employees. It's also a place to do business, and you want to keep it clean. I have a builder friend that took a new employee to a job site who packed his lunch. At lunchtime, he bought a carton of milk to go with his sandwich. One day, the worker didn't finish the milk and set the bottle on the floor. When he shut the door, the milk fell over and spilled on the floor and sat there for the rest of the day, and then the employee returned and noticed that the milk had been spilled. My friend tried everything to get out that foul smell. After spending a considerable sum on carpet cleaners, eventually he had to replace the carpet. Make sure you carry at least one roll of paper towels. The nose you save may be your own. Check out recalculating.biz for more useful small business suggestions. This has been Dan Perkins with your Small Business Tip of the Day.
We've been asked recently by a number of people, how can they listen to past shows? And if you go to recalculating.biz, you'll find a link to iHeartRadio, which will allow you to go back and listen to shows that you didn't get a chance to finish or never heard. So we encourage you to go there, recalculating.biz.
Thank you for joining us on Recalculating. We hope the information you received on today's episode was helpful to you in starting and growing your business. Please go to our website, recalculating.biz, to contact us, to listen to past shows, and see special offers. Until next time, remember, if you grow, we grow. Join us next week for more helpful ideas to make your business a great success. Recalculating, a program designed to help you be successful.